When a maid's daughter stepped into the gates of a rich kid's school, the air around her froze. The sound of her footsteps echoed against polished marble floors where every other child wore designer shoes, carried branded bags, and belonged. To families with power and fortune, no one expected her to last even a day. They whispered, they laughed, and they looked at her like she had walked into a palace where she didn't belong. But what happened next, what unfolded in those classrooms and hallways, would leave the entire school stunned. And the ending, it would silence everyone forever. Her name was Amara, the daughter of a maid who spent her days cleaning the same houses where these wealthy children lived. Her mother had saved every coin for years, sacrificing meals, working overtime, just so Amara could study in the one place that promised a brighter future. The school was no ordinary institution. It was the most elite academy in the city. Children of businessmen, politicians, and millionaires studied here. Their uniforms were stitched by famous tailors. Their cars lined up outside looked like a luxury showroom. Amara's arrival was like a drop of ink in crystal water. She wore a simple uniform, neatly ironed but clearly second-hand. Her shoes were polished but old, her bag stitched from patches. From the very first moment, eyes followed her, not with kindness, but with judgment. Teachers smiled politely, but their tone carried hidden doubt. Students stared, their whispers sharp enough to cut. Amara kept her head high. She remembered her mother's words, "You're not less than anyone, my daughter. Walk with pride." But deep inside, she could already sense it. This place was not ready to welcome someone like her. And as the days went on, the cruelty began to show its face. At lunch, Amara sat alone, tables filled with children laughing, sharing food from expensive lunchboxes, yet no one invited her. When she opened her simple homemade meal, some nearby students giggled, holding their noses as if it smelled. Her books went missing. At first she thought she had misplaced them. But then she found one in the trash, pages torn. On the blackboard, someone scribbled, "Servant's kid." The humiliation was relentless, yet Amara refused to break. Every night she studied harder than anyone else, determined to prove that knowledge was not a privilege of the rich. But the cruelty only grew sharper. During sports day, when Amara tried to join the relay race, a group of girls blocked her path. One of them, the daughter of a powerful businessman, whispered, "This isn't for people like you." The coach turned a blind eye. Amara walked away, her fists clenched, her heart burning. Still, she carried herself with dignity, and slowly, some began to notice. Her teachers realized her brilliance. Her essays outshined even the wealthiest children. Her voice in debates carried strength, yet success came with a price. The richer students couldn't accept it. One afternoon, a cruel plan was set in motion. Amara had been chosen to represent the school in a national speech competition. It was a chance to shine, to prove her worth. But the night before, someone slipped into her locker and poured ink over her carefully written speech. The next morning, when Amara opened her folder on stage, the words were drowned in black stains. The audience gasped. Whispers filled the hall. "She doesn't belong here." For a moment, she froze. Her hands trembled. Her throat tightened. But then she remembered her mother's face, the endless sacrifices, the nights she worked with blistered hands. Amara looked up at the crowd, and with nothing in her hands, she began to speak from her heart. Her voice carried through the auditorium like fire. She spoke not about wealth or status, but about dignity, resilience, and the value of every human being. She told the story of her mother, the maid who worked in silence, unseen, yet gave her child the strength to dream. She spoke about injustice, about how society builds walls between people, walls made not of bricks, but of prejudice. Her words cut through the audience. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Teachers leaned forward. Even the principal lowered his gaze. Amara's voice did not shake. She declared, "Greatness is not in the clothes we wear or the cars we arrive in. Greatness lives in our courage, in how we rise when the world wants to keep us on our knees." Silence filled the hall when she finished. And then, thunderous, applause erupted. Students who once laughed at her stood frozen, stunned by the power of her truth. Some clapped hesitantly, others with tears in their eyes. The judges awarded her first place. But more than the medal, it was the moment, the undeniable truth, that changed everything. For once, the maid's daughter was not invisible. She was unforgettable. The next day, the atmosphere in the school shifted. Some students still avoided her, but many now looked at her with newfound respect. Teachers began to acknowledge her openly, no longer with forced politeness, but with genuine admiration. Her mother, standing at the school gate, wept when she heard the news. She had spent years being invisible in the homes of the rich. But today, her daughter's voice had reached the hearts of the powerful, but not everyone celebrated. Some parents complained, "How can the daughter of a maid represent our school?" They sneered. Yet the principal answered with words that echoed across every corner of the academy. She did not just represent our school, she represented what education truly means. Mara's story spread beyond the gates. Newspapers wrote about her, calling her a voice that silenced privilege. She became a symbol of hope, not just for herself, but for every child born into hardship. Years later, when people spoke of that day, they didn't remember the expensive cars or the lavish uniforms. They remembered a simple girl standing on a stage, speaking truths that no one could ignore. And as the final applause still echoed in memory, one question remained. If a maid's daughter could silence a hall filled with privilege, then what else could the world become? If only we listened to the voices we try to silence.